Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're tackling a really crucial issue: how teachers respond to bullying in schools. And this isn't just a topic we picked out of the blue.
Hmm.
You, our listener, actually brought some fascinating research to our attention, so we're digging into what the data really tells us.
Yeah, that's right.
Our mission here is, well, pretty straightforward: to understand what shapes how teachers react when they actually encounter bullying. Has such a huge impact on students, right?
Totally. Getting a handle on the teacher's role is absolutely key.
So what are we looking at today?
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we're focusing on a really comprehensive piece of work. It's a systematic and meta-analytic review.
Okay.
It's titled Teachers' Attitudes Toward Bullying and Intervention Responses, published just last October in the Educational Psychology Review.
Relatively recent then.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this isn't just one study. The researchers, they sifted through almost 4,000 studies
Wow.
across 7 different databases, all to give us the most solid evidence out there.
So they really cast a wide net.
They really did. Ultimately, they landed on 27 studies to include in the review, and 25 of those actually fed into the main analysis, the meta-analysis part.
Okay, so that gives us a pretty thorough picture, you'd think.
Absolutely, as thorough as you can probably get right now.
So the core question we're going to explore today, thanks to all of this work, is basically this: what's the real connection between how a teacher views bullying? Do they see it as serious? Or is it just kids being kids?
Right. That old chestnut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how does that view connect to what they actually do about it in a school setting?
And the great thing is, like you said, this isn't just speculation. It's been rigorously studied.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Why? Why is it even so important how a teacher steps in? Or, even if they step in at all?
Well, just think about it for a second. Teachers are such central figures in a school, aren't they?
Yeah, they're right there.
Their actions, or sometimes, maybe more importantly, their inaction, sends a really powerful message to students. It basically tells them what's acceptable behavior and what's not.
No.
So if a teacher doesn't intervene when bullying happens, well, it can leave the student who's being bullied feeling incredibly alone.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just completely unprotected.
Exactly. Like, this is happening and the person in charge doesn't care, right?
That must be devastating for a kid.
It really can be. And, the impact doesn't just stop with the victim.
How so?
Well, when teachers don't step in, it can unintentionally signal to other students that bullying is, well, maybe okay, or at least not that serious a problem.
Ah, right. Normalizes it almost.
And sadly, this can actually lead to more bullying incidents overall.
Okay.
And it can also make other students, the bystanders, the ones who see it happening, less likely to get involved themselves.
Why would they?
Exactly. Why would they risk sticking their neck out if the adults aren't doing anything about it?
That makes a lot of sense. So that's the negative side.
Mm.
But what about when teachers do take action? What are the positives?
Well, the research points to some really clear benefits. First off, and maybe most importantly, students who are being bullied tend to feel more supported when teachers intervene.
Okay, that's huge.
It really is. It shows them the adults care, that the school doesn't condone it, and that can make them more likely to ask for help again later,
Right. Builds trust.
Definitely. Secondly, studies have found that in classrooms where teachers actively use certain strategies,
Like what?
things like disciplinary measures, offering support, even helping students work things out, students actually report less bullying happening in those classrooms.
Interesting. So teacher action can reduce the overall level.
Yeah, and even victimization rates seem to go down in classrooms where students perceive their teachers as having strong beliefs against bullying.
So it's not just about dealing with that one incident. It helps create a safer climate overall.
Exactly right. And the third big benefit involves those bystanders we mentioned.
Yeah.
When students see their teachers actively trying to stop bullying, they become more likely to step in themselves, or at least report it to a teacher.
Ah, so it empowers other students too.
It does. And those actions from peers, they're so important for building a school culture where bullying just doesn't take root as easily.
Okay, so we've established teacher intervention is vital. Now back to the core of this research. What influences whether a teacher actually steps in? You mentioned this review uses something called the theory of planned behavior.
That's right.
Can you break that down for us? Keep it simple.
Sure. Think of it like this. A teacher's decision, their intention to act in a bullying situation, it kind of boils down to 3 main things.
Okay, 3 things.
First, their attitude towards bullying itself. Do they think it's a big deal, harmful, unacceptable, or not really?
Right. Their personal view.
Second, what they think others expect them to do. That's what psychologists call subjective norms. Do they believe other teachers, parents, the principal?
Hmm.
Do they think they should intervene?
Social pressure, sort of.
Kind of, yeah, or perceived professional expectations. And third, their confidence in their own ability to handle it effectively. That's called self-efficacy.
So do they actually feel like they can make a difference?
Exactly. Am I equipped to deal with this? Now, our focus today, based on the research you brought up, is mostly on that first piece, their attitude towards bullying.
Gotcha. So just to simplify, if a teacher thinks bullying isn't that bad and maybe isn't confident they can stop it anyway,
Yeah.
they're probably less likely to try.
That's the general idea behind the theory, yes. And what's interesting here, and important for schools, is that the theory suggests these things, including attitudes, aren't necessarily set in stone.
Right.
They can
Yeah.
potentially be changed. Things like teacher training, ongoing professional development, they could influence these factors.
Right. So there's potential for intervention at the teacher level too. Okay, so focusing on attitudes, what were the big takeaways from this massive meta-analysis? Did they find a clear link between teacher attitudes and actions?
Well, the main headline is, yes, there is a connection between teachers' negative views on bullying, their anti-bullying attitudes, and how they respond.
Okay, good.
But, and this is a key but, it's not a simple, if they hate bullying, they always intervene effectively kind of situation.
Knew it wouldn't be that easy.
Yeah, rarely is. The strength and even the specifics of this connection seem to depend on a couple of things.
Like what?
First, how are we actually measuring that intervention? Are we asking teachers what they would do in a made-up scenario?
A hypothetical.
Right, or are we asking them to look back and report what they actually did?
Okay, hypothetical versus real-world reporting.
Exactly. And second, it also depends on the specific type of response we're talking about. Disciplining is different from supporting the victim, which is different from involving parents, right?
Gotcha. It's not just one action called intervening.
Precisely. It's not one size fits all.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's tackle that first part, the hypothetical situations. When teachers were asked, if you saw this kind of bullying, how likely would you be to step in? What did the research find there?
Right. Well, this is actually where the connection seems the strongest and clearest.
Oh, interesting.
The meta-analysis found that teachers who have stronger negative attitudes towards bullying, basically, they see it as more harmful, more unacceptable. They are significantly more likely to say that they would intervene in these hypothetical scenarios.
Significantly more likely.
Yes. The researchers actually described the effect size, the strength of this connection, as large. So it's a pretty substantial link in the hypothetical realm.
Okay, that's encouraging.
But
It suggests that, at least in principle, teachers who believe bullying is wrong are more inclined to think they should and would do something.
yes, that intention seems strongly linked to their attitude.
Did it matter what kind of bullying they were imagining? Like physical versus maybe relational or cyberbullying?
You know, that's a really interesting point. Surprisingly, the study found no significant difference in this relationship based on the form of bullying in those hypotheticals.
Really? No difference between physical violence and maybe name-calling?
Apparently not, in terms of the link between attitude and likelihood of saying they'd intervene. Whether it was physical, verbal, relational, even cyberbullying. That link between strong anti-bullying attitudes and the stated intention to intervene held up across the board.
Wow. That feels counterintuitive. I'd assume physical stuff would get a stronger reaction regardless of attitude.
Me too, honestly. But what this suggests is that maybe a teacher's general underlying belief that bullying itself is wrong is the key driver for saying they'll step in, maybe more so than the specific type they're picturing in that moment.
Huh. That's a key insight. Okay, so that's what teachers say they would do, in theory.
Right. Theory land.
But we all know intentions don't always translate perfectly into real-world actions. So what happened when the research looked at what teachers actually reported doing? You said this is where it gets more nuanced.
Exactly. This is where the picture gets a bit more complex. When researchers looked at studies asking teachers to reflect, retrospectively, on how often they'd use different intervention strategies, the relationship with their anti-bullying attitudes became much more specific to the particular type of response.
Okay.
They found some strategies were positively related to stronger anti-bullying attitudes, meaning used more often by those teachers.
Right?
Some were negatively related, meaning used less often.
Sure.
And some showed no significant link at all.
Fascinating. Okay, let's break those down. Which strategies were positively linked? Which ones did teachers with stronger anti-bullying views report using more?
Okay. The meta-analysis pinpointed several. First, disciplining or punishing the students doing the bullying. That showed a small to medium positive effect.
Small to medium. What does that mean practically?
It means there's a noticeable, statistically significant link, but maybe not overwhelmingly strong. So teachers with stronger negative views reported using disciplinary actions more often than those with weaker views.
Okay. What else?
Second, providing support to the victim. That also had a small to medium positive relationship.
Makes sense.
So these teachers were more likely to report offering help, comfort, advice to the student being bullied.
Good.
Third, involving the parents, both the victims and the bully's parents, that showed a small but still significant positive link.
Right, bringing others in.
And finally, a somewhat stronger link, a medium positive effect, was found for involving peer bystanders in addressing the situation.
Oh, interesting. Like getting other kids involved in the solution.
Yeah, encouraging them to help or stand up or report.
Okay, so if we boil that down, it seems like teachers who really see bullying as problematic are more likely to report using these quite active strategies, right?
Yeah.
Discipline, support, involving parents, involving peers.
That seems to be the pattern, yes. More direct action, more support, engaging others.
Okay. Now, what about the flip side? Which strategies were negatively related? What did teachers with stronger anti-bullying views report doing less often?
There were two main ones here. First, advocating avoidance to the victim.
Meaning like, just stay away from them.
Exactly. Telling the victim to just avoid the bully or the situation where bullying happens, that showed a small negative effect.
So teachers who take it seriously are less likely to advise that.
Seems so. And the second one, encouraging independent coping.
Like, you need to figure this out yourself.
Pretty much. Telling the victim they need to sort it out on their own, that had a medium negative effect.
Okay.
So putting it together, it suggests that teachers who see bullying as a more serious problem are less likely to fall back on these more passive strategies that kind of put the onus back on the victim to solve it alone.
That also fits the pattern, doesn't it? If you think it's serious, you're less likely to just tell the victim to handle it or run away.
Exactly.
Now, what about the ones that showed no significant link? That feels important too. Which strategies didn't seem connected to a teacher's attitude?
Right. The null findings are interesting too. The meta-analysis found no significant relationship between those negative anti-bullying attitudes and several common responses.
Such as?
Advocating assertion to the victims, so encouraging them to stand up for themselves.
Huh. Why no link there? You'd think encouraging the victim to be strong would align with taking bullying seriously.
That's a great question. It could be complex. Maybe teachers, regardless of attitude, are hesitant to advise assertion because they worry it might escalate things.
Potential for retaliation maybe, or the victim getting hurt.
Possibly. Or maybe they feel it depends heavily on the specific child and situation, so their general attitude doesn't drive that specific advice. It's hard to say for sure from this data.
Okay. What else showed no link?
Enlisting other adults or higher authority, like going to the school counselor or the principal.
Again, that's surprising. Wouldn't stronger attitudes lead to escalating more often?
You might think so, but perhaps referral is seen more as a procedural step or something you do when your own efforts fail or when policy dictates it.
So less about personal belief and more about context or protocol.
Could be. It might be driven more by the perceived severity or complexity of the specific incident rather than the teacher's general underlying attitude towards all bullying.
Okay. And the last one.
Separating the students involved. Just physically moving them apart. No significant link found there either.
Maybe that's just practical. Like sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, regardless of how you feel about bullying.
That seems plausible. Think about classroom layouts, required group work. Separation might just not always be feasible or the most effective long-term solution, so its use isn't strongly tied to attitude.
Okay, so while attitude clearly matters for some actions, others seem driven by different factors. Now, you mentioned there were also some qualitative findings, stuff that wasn't in the main number crunching.
Yes, exactly. Some interesting nuggets came from studies that couldn't be statistically combined with the others but still offer insights.
Like what?
Well, for instance, one study found that as teachers' negative anti-bullying attitudes got stronger, they reported ignoring bullying situations less often.
Okay, that fits perfectly with the negative link found for avoidance and independent coping. Less passive ignoring.
Right, it reinforces that same pattern. Another study, though, found no link between anti-bullying attitudes and just sort of talking to bullies without assigning blame.
Just having chat.
Yeah. Suggesting that kind of general, non-confrontational talk might not be strongly driven by how seriously the teacher views bullying overall.
Maybe seen as a less direct intervention.
Perhaps. Then there were studies, again, not in the main meta-analysis due to statistical reasons, that did show positive links between stronger anti-bullying attitudes and intervening specifically in verbal, relational, and cyberbullying.
Ah, so maybe there are links for specific types of bullying in some contexts, even if the overall hypothetical analysis didn't show it.
It hints at that, yeah. Maybe digging into those specific forms reveals more subtle connections sometimes. Needs more research, but it's suggestive.
Interesting. What else?
Another study distinguished between different kinds of attitudes. They talked about a humanistic attitude, being concerned for both bully and a victim, versus an uncompassionate attitude.
Okay.
They found the more humanistic teachers were, the more likely they were to report working with the bully, involving other adults, and using discipline.
So a focus on everyone involved led to more action.
Seems like it. And conversely, an uncompassionate attitude was negatively linked with working with the victim.
Wow. Okay, so the type of attitude matters too, not just its strength.
Definitely. It highlights how different facets of a teacher's outlook can shape their specific choices.
Anything else from those qualitative bits?
One last interesting one used a forced choice format. Teachers had to pick their primary response.
Right.
They found that when teachers saw the bullying as more severe, especially physical violence, they were much more likely to choose involving other school personnel, like counselors or admin, over options like just disciplining or educating the students themselves.
So severity can trump other factors and push towards escalation.
Exactly. It suggests that perception of immediate risk or severity can sometimes override other tendencies when it comes to deciding, okay, I need to bring in reinforcements here.
Okay, so pulling all this together, what does it ultimately mean? What are the big implications here, and where should efforts be focused?
I think the most significant implication, really, is that teachers' attitudes towards bullying do seem to be a genuinely important target for anti-bullying efforts.
So changing attitudes is worthwhile.
It seems so. This suggests that both in preservist training, when people are learning to be teachers and in ongoing professional development for teachers already working, we really need to prioritize educating them about the serious harm bullying causes. Helping them develop strong, informed beliefs against it seems crucial.
It goes back to that theory of planned behavior you mentioned. Change the attitude.
And you might influence the intention to act, exactly.
But it sounds like it's not just about changing how they think, right? Confidence mattered too.
Absolutely critical point. We can't just focus on attitude. That self-efficacy piece, feeling capable and confident, is vital.
So training needs to be practical.
Yes. It should include concrete strategies, clear steps teachers can take for different situations, and maybe opportunities to discuss, even role-play realistic bullying scenarios to build that confidence.
Right, so they feel prepared, not just convinced it's wrong.
Exactly. It's that combination. Believing bullying is unacceptable and feeling equipped to actually do something effective about it.
And is there anything else? Broader picture.
Well, we shouldn't forget prevention, ideally. Things like integrating social and emotional learning, SEL, for students,
How does that help?
equipping kids with better skills for understanding emotions, managing conflict, building relationships. That could ultimately reduce the amount of bullying happening in the first place, lessening the need for teacher intervention.
A proactive approach. Makes sense. What about the research itself? You mentioned challenges in measuring intervention. What needs to improve there?
Yeah, the review really hammered home some significant challenges. Measuring how teachers respond is tricky.
How so?
Well, like we discussed, asking about hypotheticals is different from asking what they remember doing, which is different again from what, say, students might observe them doing.
Right. 3 different perspectives.
And each has drawbacks. Self-reports, for instance, have that risk of social desirability bias.
Meaning, teachers might say what they think sounds good.
Exactly. Reporting what they think they should have done or wish they'd done, rather than maybe what actually happened in the heat of the moment, it's human nature.
So we need better measurement tools.
We really do. Finding more reliable, maybe more objective ways to understand their actual real-world responses is a big challenge for researchers. It's tough to observe unobtrusively, though.
I can imagine.
Eh,
What else does future research need?
Well, beyond just knowing what teachers do, we desperately need more research on how effective different strategies actually are.
Right. Does punishing work better than supporting?
Mm.
In which situations?
Precisely. Teachers use a whole toolbox of responses, but we need a much clearer understanding of which tools truly make a difference for which kids and in which contexts.
And what about those really tough cases?
Yes. We also need to delve much deeper into understanding those challenging situations where bullying persists despite interventions. What's going wrong there? What else could be tried?
So lots more to learn about what actually works on the ground.
Absolutely. And one more crucial point the review authors made was about potential bias in the existing studies.
Bias. How?
Things like selection bias. Many studies relied on teachers volunteering, and maybe only certain types of teachers volunteer for bullying research.
So the sample might not represent all teachers.
Could be. And information bias, some studies used measures for attitudes or interventions that haven't been fully validated or tested for reliability.
So the tools themselves might be flawed.
Potentially. So future research really needs to aim for more rigor. That means trying to get more representative samples of teachers, using well-validated measurement tools, and also making a real effort to include teachers from a much wider range of cultural contexts. The current research is heavily skewed towards weird countries, Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic.
Right. We need a more global picture. Those are really important caveats. The context and the quality of the research definitely matter.
They absolutely do. It's essential for building a truly solid understanding of such a complex issue.
Okay, so to wrap things up then for you, our listener, what's the key message you should take away from this deep dive into the research?
I think the main takeaway is that what teachers believe about bullying, their attitudes, it really does matter. It plays a definite role in their willingness to step in and address it. But the link between those beliefs and their actual specific actions in the classroom is, well, complex. It depends on the specific action we're looking at.
So attitude influences things, but it's not the whole story.
Exactly. While having strong negative feelings about bullying seems to push teachers towards using more active and supportive strategies and away from passive ones, there are still clearly many other factors at play and lots of nuances we still need to understand.
So it reinforces that it's not just about changing hearts and minds, is it? It's also about equipping teachers.
Precisely. Fostering those strong anti-bullying attitudes, that's a really important foundation, but it absolutely needs to go hand in hand with giving teachers the practical skills, the specific knowledge, and, crucially, the confidence to intervene effectively in all the diverse and challenging situations they inevitably face in schools.
So it makes perfect sense. A two-pronged approach, attitude and skills.
You got it.
Okay, so for you, our listener, as you mull all this over, here's maybe a final question to think about. Given that we know teachers' attitudes significantly influence their actions, what do you think are the most effective ways to really nurture consistently strong anti-bullying attitudes in teachers? And maybe just as importantly, how can we best help them translate those attitudes into meaningful, impactful interventions within the very different school environments they work in every day?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It definitely is. Something to think about as we all keep working towards safer, more supportive schools for every student. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We definitely encourage you to explore the research we've discussed today, or maybe pursue any related topics that spark your interest.